This is CBC Here and Now.
Years ago, the chief of the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary made a recommendation that all internal police disciplinary hearings should be open to the public. So, what's happened since then? I'll bring you that story coming up on Here and Now.
This young basketball team from St. Peter's Junior High in Mount Pearl has had a pretty incredible couple of years.
Over the past couple of years, we've won 6 banners and 2 provincial titles as a team.
I'm Jeremy Eaton, and I'm going to introduce you to some of the players and tell you what they've been up to.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Peter Cowan, filling in for Carolyn. Tonight, the province's fisheries minister is putting himself in the middle of a dispute over crab, one that's left boats tied up for weeks. But will it end the impasse? Here now's Terry Roberts reports.
The Honourable the Minister of Fisheries, Forestry and Agriculture.
The Fisheries Minister is concerned by the feedback he's been receiving in recent days.
At my office, at my phone, at my Facebook, it's been all kinds of messages saying we want to go fishing, we don't want to come out and say it because of threats of arm or violence.
So yesterday, Bragg sent this letter to the Fisheries Union. Time is running out for the crab season, he says, the most important economic lifeline in the fishery, and every harvester in the province should get a secret ballot with the following question. Are you ready and willing to go fishing now for the price as it is currently set at $2.20 a pound?
I love nothing more than see the markets go up and see a spike in this fishery, but I fear as time goes on we may lose the season. We can't afford to lose the season. There's too many people, too many lives at stake in this province.
Thousands of harvesters remain ashore, saying they can't afford to fish at the arbitrated price following years of sky-high profits.
We're in a crisis.
Caught in the middle are thousands of plant workers. They don't work if the boats don't fish. And now their employment insurance benefits are expiring. Pleas to Ottawa for an emergency extension of those benefits have so far been ignored.
Now it's getting really bad because, we got people who have been out of EI now for a month, right? And it's serious. We're caught in the crossfire, right, of this crisis in our fishery, right? And we need help. We just not going to do it if we don't get help from the government.
FFAW President Greg Priddy was not available for comment today, but in a statement, he accused the minister of trying to undermine the union and the Collective Bargaining Act by calling for a vote.
I wouldn't have written it if I thought it was.
Bragg says there's little hope that prices will improve, and a missed season could have big consequences in future years.
We go a full year and Newfoundland crab does not go into the market. Other countries, other companies will get the market.
Crab plant owners have refused to budge on the minimum price, but have promised to not ask for a price review from the independent arbitrator until May 19th. Not good enough for this harvester. He says whether harvesters fish or not, many face a disastrous year.
This is that severe that there's going to be, mass bankruptcies.
Sullivan believes harvesters would untie their boats if plant owners locked the price at $2.20, but he fears that once the pots are in the water, prices will erode even further.
If we start fishing now and the market don't react favourably, the plants will probably stop buying halfway through the season, so they can clear their inventories.
Not since the 1990s and the cod moratorium has there been so much upheaval in the fishery, and few seem to be offering ideas that will break the impasse. Terry Roberts, CBC News, Witless Bay.
The carcasses of dozens of dead seals have washed onto the beaches of Conception Bay South. Shelley Lang is a research scientist with the Department of Fisheries and Oceans. She says the seals are young and are dying from natural causes.
So the seals people are seeing washing ashore are young of the year seals, so they were born on the pack ice off the island in March this year. And they would have been animals that basically have drowned or been crushed between the ice, and the bodies kind of sink and then they resurface, and as the wind sort of becomes onshore, those bodies can blow ashore. They're born on the first year pack ice that flows down along, and they spend about 12 days with their mom, at least for the ones that are the harp seals. Hooded seals is even shorter, they're only 4 days with their mother. And then when their mom leaves, they basically spend their time on the ice for the next 3 to 4 weeks learning to feed for themselves. And so they depend on that ice as a stable platform. And so when the ice disintegrates, or if we have very bad weather and pans are tipping, they may get thrown from those. And so they may drown before they can get to another surface, or they get crushed between moving pans. So we do get reports of this every year. This does happen. We're seeing more this year and in areas that we don't normally see them, simply because the ice was so close inshore this year. So I know a lot of people know about, the dolphins being entrapped and things like that. So we had a lot of ice that was tight into the bays and along the shore, and a lot of those animals were born on that ice. And so it's just happened that everything's so close when they've died, and the ice is sort of pulled away, the bodies have been left.
And some of the residents, of course, are concerned about that, and they're concerned about things like avian flu or disease. If someone does stumble across a carcass, what kind of risk does it pose?
I don't think there's any risk in terms of things like avian flu or COVID for these. From everything that we know about it, they've died of natural causes. As they say, they've either drowned when they fall from the ice or been crushed between moving pans of ice. And so it's nothing that I think people should be concerned again. But again, they're decomposing carcasses. They're not something you really want to play around with anyway.
Well, as we told you last night, residents want to see those seals in Conception Bay South cleaned up. In a statement, DFO says that responsibility for that depends on where the carcasses are located. So they say if the bodies are above the lowest possible tide level, known as the spring tide mark, it falls under municipal or provincial jurisdiction. If it is under that mark, it's federal responsibility. Meanwhile, Service NL says cleaning up that mess is the responsibility of the town of Conception Bay South. Yesterday, the town said it was looking for the federal government and their expertise to clean it up. Today, the town didn't respond by deadline to say whether it would be cleaning up those dead seals. CBC News has learned that 2 senior members of the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary pushed for more transparency in police discipline. That was 2 years ago, but it's unclear what, if anything, the province has done about it. Earlier this week, CBC Investigates revealed never-before-seen data on police discipline. Unlike many other professionals, internal hearings for RNC officers are largely held behind closed doors. But, as Here Now's Ariana Kelland reports, even the police force once argued the police should have the public should have access.
It's 2021 and there's a rare public hearing in St. John's. It's to determine if these 2 police officers were wrong in the way they arrested a father and son in Paradise. But before it began, then RNC Chief Joe Boland made a submission to the hearing's adjudicator. He asked Andrew Wadden to make recommendations on public transparency and openness. Wadden wrote, "The chief takes the position that it is in the public interest and in the interest of the RNC as a police service that RNC disciplinary proceedings, a separate forum from this one, conducted under the regulations, be made open to the public." Lawyer Erin Breen represented the father and son who made the complaint against police. She agreed with Boland then and does now.
We've had terrible breaches of trust in policing in this province. We've had terrible breaches of trust right across Canada. And this entire movement just makes sense in order to, try and reestablish some trust.
Breen says she regularly hears about police complaints from her clients.
The problem that you have when you're representing an individual is, well, where's the evidence? It's their word coming up against the police. Very rarely do you have independent evidence. In the Ball case, there was the video, right? Which made it a unique case that the entire event was recorded on video.
The same year that hearing was held, the force's deputy chief came out with a scathing report of his own on the conduct of this RNC officer, Tim Buckle. Ed Oates wrote that Buckle would have been fired had he not retired first, and listed a number of never-before-revealed complaints against him. Oates recommended the province amend the RNC Act so that police discipline is part of the public record. So if the police themselves have called for more transparency, why hasn't it happened yet? Well, the Justice Minister has refused an interview, and his statement from his department didn't answer the question. As for the former chief's recommendation for openness and transparency, that still sits with the adjudicator from the 2021 hearing. There's been no conclusion yet. The RNC says any complaint made about police misconduct is taken very seriously and is thoroughly investigated by the RNC and the Public Complaints Commission. Ariana Kelland, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, it is a very foggy day out there. As you can see behind me, we can't see a whole lot on the harbor cam. In fact, visibility is down to about 0.2 kilometers at the airport at the moment, but you can really see all that cloud cover across the island. Not a whole lot to talk about up across Labrador, though. Actually, a lovely afternoon today. Still sitting under that ridge of high pressure this afternoon, and it's really not going anywhere over the next little bit either. Still have an area of low pressure to the south, but lots of moisture in the air, especially further east. Now, there's that moisture there. Now, as we head through the next couple of days, next 24 hours, we're going to see a wind shift and push that moisture out for the most part. So this dense fog that we're seeing should let up for a little bit. There is some indications that it will return, though, through the weekend, at least parts of the weekend. But we're seeing some pretty gusty winds down along the southern portions of the island, 74 kilometers per hour in Burgeo at the moment, and this is generally going to continue as we head through the overnight tonight and even spread east. So those winds gusting between 60 to 70 kilometers per hour through the overnight and into tomorrow will continue. We'll talk about that and have your full forecast coming up.
Thanks, Ashley. After a slow start to the sea ice season in Labrador, new data is showing that there was almost average ice thickness up to the end of the year, but it's not all rosy in the Big Land. The CBC's Heidi Adder explains.
Snowmobiles should still be making a chorus in Labrador. The season once went from mid-November to the end of May, but machines are put away now as climate change continues to affect Labrador's coast.
It's concerning, it's scary, and it's something that we have no control over.
Pottle says people are even taking their snow machines out in boats to transport them over the open waterways. The sea ice season started slowly in Labrador. Warmer than average temperatures in November and December hampered ice growth. The Canadian Ice Service says southern Labrador had half the normal amount of ice in January into February. Northern Labrador was in a similar situation. But through the winter, that started to change. Environment and Climate Change Canada says the sea ice season ended with average ice thickness because the thick ice from the Davis Strait area was blown south, colliding with Labrador's coastal ice.
There's been this dynamics, the wind-driven changes in sea ice that have caused this rebound to near normal ice conditions, but that's been limited to more of the nearshore environment. When you get further offshore, off the coast, we are seeing less than normal sea ice, and that's again because of the effects of the winds in pushing this ice, forming this ice closer to shore.
But that ice coming from the north may not be what Labradorians are used to.
That makes for very rough ice because if you think about wind compressing and pushing ice together, you get ridges forming, you get rough ice. And that's, for people who want to travel by snow machine over the ice, that is much more challenging.
Dirksen says communities will need to think about adapting. Pottle hopes to see improved trails in the future and more money for Rigolette to help that adaptation.
If it keeps going the way that it is, it's only going to be a matter of a few short years, and there's going to be a big part of our life that's going to be gone, the way that we know it now or the way that we knew it in the past.
Heidi Adder, CBC News, Happy Valley, Goose Bay.
Well, the Canada Revenue Agency strike is over. A tentative deal was announced overnight. Workers returned to the job today. The wage terms largely reflect those agreed to in Monday's Public Service Alliance of Canada deal, centering on a 12.6% wage increase over 4 years. Union officials also say that a process is being set up to address employee concerns around access to telework. The union had been without an agreement since 2021. A woman living in Newfoundland and Labrador housing in Labrador City is speaking out about the conditions of her apartment. From mold to mice to security issues, she has reported these issues several times with no fixes. She brought her story to CBC, and here now's Daryl Din has more.
I was taking my pictures up one by one, and when I got down to this last one, I was like, oh my word, what? But you can see right here, like it's right. You can see that there was something like some water or something along here. You can tell it was flooded.
Katrina Kippenhook says her Newfoundland and Labrador housing apartment has a mold issue which hasn't been addressed for months.
Just hear me. It's not that hard. I've written them multiple times. I've asked them to come and just inspect it, just look at it.
And have you gotten responses to those, or it's still sort of...
Not really, no.
She says it's not just the mold. The front doors of the building are supposed to be secure, and they are not.
Now, see that? Watch. Now, if I can grab that hog open like that, this is supposed to be a locked building. This is my key. See how much more quiet it is? They were having troubles with the wires out in the hallway. And I told them it was the mouse. And they just looked at me like I had 10 heads, right? And I was like, we've got a mouse here. And they were like, no, we don't. And I was like, oh, yeah, we do. Right? But
I guess, yeah, if they're saying that they don't, but are they just reacting to your answer, or why, at least investigating?
They don't investigate anything.
And what is that like when you feel like you're not being taken seriously?
It actually kills me. I hate it.
The minister responsible for the Newfoundland and Labrador Housing Corporation was unavailable for an interview, but he did send a statement. While under the Privacy Act, we can't speak to specific details of client files. We can advise that when any issues are brought to our attention, staff would investigate the matter to address the situation as quickly as possible. I can confirm that both a contractor and staff had recently looked into this matter and will continue to work with our tenant to address any concerns. Since CBC contacted Newfoundland and Labrador Housing, Kippenhook told me today that they have fixed the front door and her carpet will be replaced next week with flooring. Daryl Din, CBC News, Labrador City.
The prices of all fuels made a drop today. You'll now be paying almost a cent a litre less at the pumps. The cost of gas is now $1.70 a litre on the Avalon Peninsula, while diesel is down 5 cents on the island, 4.7 cents in Labrador West and Churchill Falls. Now, furnace oil is also down by nearly 4.5 cents. Stove oil is down about 4 cents a litre. The provincial government has announced what it is calling the Year of the Arts for 2024. The announcement was made at the Rooms in St. John's last night. Government says it plans to hold performances, festivals, and public events through next year. There'll be funding for artists as well, and they'll work towards a new theatre in St. John's. Comedian Rick Mercer was part of the announcement.
Not only is the performing arts great ambassadors, they also play an incredible role in drawing people to this place. And the Year of the Arts is also going to do that. And it's just so incredible to be part of not only an announcement for the Year of the Arts, but for a new theatre in St. John's.
Well, how about this for an accomplishment? A grade 9 girls basketball team in Mount Pearl has remained undefeated for years. The back-to-back provincial champs from St. Peter's Junior High are now leveling up to face off against some grade 11s. Not bad for a team that came together during the height of COVID. Take a look.
This group came together in grade 7 during COVID. It was a very tough year for everyone. So, during that year, we practiced outdoors because we couldn't get into a gym. The girls just wanted to play ball. They came from grade 6 at different schools and then combined here in grade 7. So we came from 2 different backgrounds, and when grade 7 happened, they just wanted to play ball. So we found outdoor courts, we found whatever we could to get them going, to get them in the gym, and we just took off from there.
Over the past couple of years, we've won 6 banners and 2 provincial titles as a team.
Oh, the growth for this group has been enormous. Kids that we thought would take a back seat are now our stars, and the kids just evolved, constantly evolving. We took on some new girls this year for grade 9 that never played basketball ever in their lives, and the other girls just took them under their wings, and it was absolutely beautiful to see and beautiful to watch, and it's just a very special group of girls.
We're really close as a team. We all hang out outside of basketball. We all play different sports together as volleyball and soccer.
just dedicated. All I can say is they're very, very dedicated. They're in the gym 4 or 5 days a week. They're in the weight room. Most of them have personal trainers. You know, they put in the time, they put in the energy. They're great because of the work they put in. So this has nothing to do, I don't think it has anything to do with the coaching. The head coach might disagree, but I really believe it's these fine young women behind me. They're fantastic.
We went 36-0 over our past couple of years, so we wanted to get a step up and make some competition.
Grade 11 provincials this weekend, and these girls need to be challenged. You know, we went grade 10 last weekend. We lost in the semi-final, you know, out of 6 teams, so we were right there with the best of the grade 10s, and we didn't really get challenged for grade 9, so we really needed to up our game, and these girls were ready for the challenge. They can't wait to play.
We'll all go to O'Donnell High School, and we'll all be staying together there as well.
I got a feeling we'll be on the bench coaching these ladies. I got a feeling that myself and the head coach, Glenn Suley, Katie Burry is also part of our coaching staff. She's an ex-O'Donnell alumni. She'll be there as well. So I got a feeling that we'll still be there come September.
Around the world, basically, Taiwan, Spain, Australia, New Zealand.
Well, that infamous iceberg sure has traveled. Stick around, we're going to catch up with the man behind the camera and behind these viral videos coming up.
Well, we've got some fog out there, and how long is this fog going to stick around? We'll talk about that when I come back.
This weather update is brought to you by the Healthcare Foundation Home Lottery. Early bird prize deadline is midnight tomorrow. Order tickets now at hcfhomelottery.ca.
Ashley, before we get to the weather, we do want to give a little bit of an update to a story that lots of people have been talking about. It's been a whirlwind week for Ken Pretty. He's the photographer and drone operator who took the pictures of the, let's say, phallic iceberg in Harbour Grace last week. Yeah, you know, the one that people have been calling the Chilly Willy or the Dicky Berg.
Yeah, those photos have really traveled. We caught up with him to ask about those now famous photos.
When I got there and looked at the iceberg from land, you can almost pick out the shape or whatever, but once I got the drone up and out over the iceberg and swung around, I knew it was going to be, I was excited to see it, but I think the iceberg was more excited to see me. It's everywhere. I don't know, US, Taiwan, UK, Sweden, Spain, Germany, Brazil, Belgium, Singapore, Thailand, Norway, Australia, New Zealand. You know, today where everything's, cost of living is so high and all that, and it's good to put a smile on someone's face if I could. Right.
I'm not sure if we can say this on the air, but I'm going to. It looks like a penis.
She didn't want to say it, but she did. Now see, that's the real North Pole right there.
We couldn't play the rest of the jokes because the standards for late night comedy are a little bit different from Here and Now, but it is worth watching the Daily Show from earlier this week if you want to see the rest of the jokes. But anyway, hopefully our forecast, is there any end to the chilliness in our forecast?
Not really, and unfortunately the fog is going to stick around at least for a little bit. We may see a brief change tomorrow, which will be nice, but for now, what you see is what you get. That's the story. So let's take a look at the situation right now. So we've got that ridge of high pressure that has been dominating Labrador pretty much for 2-3 weeks now, as we've been sitting in this blocking pattern that's allowing those northerly winds to continue for coastal areas of the island, well, pretty much all of the island. And then we've got an area of low pressure to the south right now. So pretty much what we're seeing is lots of moisture in the air, and it's bringing some rain, drizzle, and fog right along the northeast coast. Temperatures are sitting somewhere between 1 and 3 degrees. 10 degrees was the afternoon high in Nain. And then we've got those temperatures for Churchill Falls, Lab City, both in the double digits. And then same thing again, Stephenville, Port aux Basques, Burgeo, all between Marystown, add that one to the list too, between 11 and 14 degrees today. So certainly lots of spring weather out there, but what's going to happen over the next couple of days? Well, as we head into tomorrow, that mild air is certainly going to continue pretty much where we have been seeing it over the last little bit. Western portions of Labrador, western portions of the island, and along the south coast as well. Now, as we head into Saturday, that will continue. Things are going to start to cool down for the island, though, and then we see some warmth, it looks like, through central, and that's because we're going to see a bit of a wind shift, some more southerly winds, which will allow temperatures to climb up through central, but going to get into a bit of some cooling temperatures, winds out of the north for Labrador, so very different story, and some cool overnight lows as well as we get into next week. But all indications showing that by the time we get into Wednesday, Thursday of next week, we should start to see some of those temperatures warming up across the island as we get more into a southerly flow, and it stays like that for a little while. Now, as far as what's going on out there right now, we're looking at some sunshine again on the west coast. Lab City, Walbush, you're looking at some cloudy skies there at the moment, but dry. Lumsden, some showers, and then for St. Anthony, you're seeing some cloud cover off into the distance there. But taking a live look outside, lots of fog out there, some windy conditions as well. And we're going to see this fog generally continue as we head through the overnight. So I've added some color here just to kind of show you what's going on. So the red is that dense fog that we've been seeing. That will continue as we head through the overnight tonight, even into tomorrow morning. Areas through central, northern peninsula, some areas of northern Labrador will see that fog as well. And then as we see those winds shift tomorrow afternoon, we should see some relief from that fog, at least through the afternoon, and then really into Saturday morning as well. Now there's some indications as we head into late afternoon on Saturday, some of that fog will move right back in along the northeast coast, but we're going to have to keep an eye on that one because it looks like it continues into Sunday morning as well before it clears off. So right now, we still don't have that radar, at least for the Holyrood radar. It looks like that's not going to be back until middle of June. But really, it's just showers at this point, and that will generally continue as we head through the overnight, as you can see through the future tracker now. Most of the activity, the shower activity, the heavier showers should move in through the overnight and continue through a good chunk of the morning tomorrow. Temperatures tonight are going to sit around the 0-degree mark. We may even see some flurries in the mix, especially as we get into the early morning hours tomorrow. Quiet, chilly up across Labrador, but again, these northeasterly winds 30 to 50, maybe even 60 or 70 along southern areas of the island. Now for tomorrow, temperatures staying pretty chilly. Again, can't rule out the chance of a few flurries in the morning, but as the day goes on, the skies will clear, especially for west, south, and even through parts of central. It's going to start cloudy with a chance of some flurries, but as your temperatures climb back up, it'll be fairly lovely. Temperatures in the teens for the west coast. Across the rest of Labrador, 16 degrees in Lab City. Get out and enjoy it because temperatures will cool down. I'll be back in a bit.
There's a sound that's been missing in the community of Harbour Grace, why the bells at St. Paul's Church are finally ringing again. That story's coming up. Well, here at St. Paul's Church in Harbour Grace, there's something that's been missing from Sunday services, something that people have heard here for generations, and that's the sound of the bell. Well, Brenda Hunt Stevenson has been involved in getting this sound back to the community. So first of all, explain, why hasn't the bell been ringing?
Well, over the years, the bell tower has had a number of repairs. And with COVID, of course, the bell went silent as well. But the repairs caused the shutters and the louvers to be closed. And so a group of us got together and said, we need to hear that bell again.
So the bell was there, the problem was just it was all closed off so no one could hear it.
No, that's right.
Why was it so important for you to have this bell ring again?
Well, that's an 87-year-old bell, and it lives in a 188-year-old tower, and it's calling out to be heard. For me, as a child growing up in Harbour Grace and coming to this church, I would hear that bell, and I could never get to see it because you couldn't get up in the tower. The tower, you had to go on ladders, and Mr. Hutchings would ring the bell, and he had to climb a ladder, go up on a platform, and climb a ladder again. But sitting as a little girl, I always pictured the bell and wondered what it was like, and I said, I would love to be able to ring that bell. So when the tower was redone in the last few years and those beautiful steps were put there, it's opened up a world of possibilities to ring that bell again. And the bell, it was rung here for, like you say, hundreds of years. The church has been here for almost 200. That bell is 87. But it brings back memories to a lot of people and memories of beautiful times, of weddings and so on. So it's really important to a lot of people.
You were also training people to be able to ring the bell. What's involved with doing that?
I've been trained first. It's not very hard, actually. If I can ring that bell, anybody can ring that bell.
So if anyone can ring the bell, does that mean I can give it a try?
You can certainly ring that bell.
Perfect. Well, let's go give it a try.
Let's go.
So these stairs are a whole lot easier than those ladders and platforms
yes,
we're talking
can
about.
you imagine trying to climb up a ladder on a platform and then ring the bell for 15 minutes?
Okay, so we have 2 ropes here.
Yes.
What do each of them do?
Well, this one over here is the funeral knell.
Okay.
It's a muted bell that it sounds for the beginning and ending of a funeral. And this one is the one that we ring for Sundays or for celebratory times like weddings, Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve.
Okay.
This is the one.
It's not really a celebratory time, but
No.
I think we can give it a shot, can we?
Go ahead.
Okay.
So you want me to show you first?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, it's really complicated.
Okay, well first
You want to put these on?
Oh, here I got.
Okay. Okay, so we just simply untie it. I usually stand right here.
Okay.
So I can brace myself. Let me just. So come over here.
Okay.
You might want to brace yourself like I did.
Okay, so brace myself here.
Yes, and just pull, pull. There you go.
There we go. So what's it like for you hearing this bell ring now that we've been able to hear that beautiful sound?
Well, it just fills my heart. I mean, the sound of the bell is such a warm tone, and to actually see it after all these years.
Why?
Because we all feel that sound preservation and sound heritage is very important, and we all feel that with loss of so many sounds in our life right now, with train and so on, with so many churches closing, and we're going to lose the sound of those beautiful bells in the future, it's important for these young people to hear it, to experience it. The bell will carve out its own memories in those people, and hopefully we'll have it for future generations to come.
Well, yeah, and this bell's been ringing for almost 100 years.
Absolutely.
And it's been the same sound that people in the community have been able to hear.
That's right, and it's a beautiful warm sound, as you could hear. So it's carved out a lot of memories for a lot of people in this town.
Well, thank you very much for showing me how to ring the bell. I'm not sure I was good enough to be on the regular roster here on Sunday mornings, but it was fun to try it out, and good luck on Sunday.
I may put you on a substitute list.
Okay, that sounds good.
Thank you very much.
What we do is we build artificial intelligence that can analyze you and tell you how to get better at being a race car driver.
A St. John's company is using AI to train race car drivers, and they're not stopping there. That story's just ahead. A tech startup in St. John's is joining the global race to bring artificial intelligence to sports and video games. Trophy.ai has just raised more than $3 million in seed funding and has signed up more than 10,000 users for its AI technology. So what does it do and how could it be used in the future? Well, here now Zach Gowdy explains.
It may look like the world's fanciest racing game, and it is, but that's not the story here. Whoa! And I may look like the world's worst race car driver, and I am.
You know I drive a minivan, right?
But that's not the story either. To get us to this story, we need Mike Winter behind the wheel.
I'm the co-founder and CEO of Trophy.ai.
They don't make the game, they don't make the chair.
What we do is we build artificial intelligence that can analyze you and tell you how to get better at being a race car driver. Okay, so this is Trophy.ai. This is our artificial intelligence tool. Trophy has analyzed our lap. It's understanding where we're losing the most time, so where we're making the most mistakes, so the biggest mistakes. Then it's giving us exact details on what we need to do to improve on that track. What you can see is the AI is picked out. I'm the orange-yellow trace, and the red trace is what an expert looks like. See how slow I am on that brake? That means I'm losing time because I'm not on the brakes fast enough. So it's picked that out, and it's telling me that's something I need to work on.
The AI coach also tells you how to work on your gas, your gear shifting, and your steering. It recommends training programs for the skills you need to improve.
You know, right now it's in racing, but if you look fast forward, in 5 years we'll be in almost every video game, and in 10 years I think we'll be in every sport. You know, if you're a young person, you're learning how to play tennis, if you're learning how to play hockey, everyone will have a personal AI coach that's available and watching them and making them better all the time.
Just how far-fetched is this AI-driven future of games and sports? In some ways, it's already begun. Computers long ago learned how to play most board games like chess and Go better than humans. Now, free websites like chess.com can analyze your gameplay, show you the best move in any situation, and teach you how to avoid mistakes. Recently, algorithms have cracked more complex games like Texas Hold'em Poker. Now, instead of reading people's faces, gamblers train with AI assistants that analyze every hand and teach you how to make the best bet. But how is this going to work in tennis or in hockey, a game that doesn't have an electronic input and it's just you and your body?
Yeah, so that is a few years away. You're seeing artificial intelligence is advancing very quickly in what's called pose analysis. So the ability to have cameras take pictures of you and understand the positions of your body. So that's the future that's coming. The reason we started with video games is because that is still an evolving field. And instead, video games luckily provide us all the data we need to develop AI.
Trophy.ai is trying to get in on the ground floor of that future, and they're building it here in St. John's. The company has just raised more than $3 million in seed funding. It's hiring more engineers and data scientists and moving out of its small downtown office into a space leased from Misa, one of the province's leading tech companies. Following their footsteps, or tire tracks, won't be easy. The AI gold rush is on, and it's a global competition. But the team at Trophy AI is revved up and say everything they need to win this race is right here.
I truly believe that in Newfoundland we can compete in this global market and build a leading company. And again, we've proven it now. We have some great companies here, and we're going to hopefully prove it again with Trophy.
Zach Gowdy, CBC News, St. John's.
It's the first time in history that a king or a queen has sat down with First Nations, representatives of First Nations, Inuit and Métis from Canada.
Well, that's Nathan Obed, president of ITK, the national organization representing Canada's Inuit, and there he is with the king. Charles met with Canadian Indigenous leaders today ahead of his coronation to discuss a wide range of topics. Obed, who is originally from Nain, says it's a significant step.
I think he's open to learning. I think over the last 30 to 40 years, he has interacted with many Indigenous peoples globally and, of course, in Canada. And so I think he has a baseline understanding of the negative effects of colonization on First Nations, Inuit, and Métis in Canada. What we do about that, I think, is a new conversation, and how he, in his role as king, could use his influence to work with us on reconciliation efforts, but also in the way in which he does that work, and coming to Canada and coming to our communities and really hearing us in a distinctions-based way, how that could have a very positive effect on our relationship moving forward. It's the first time in history that a king or a queen has sat down with First Nations, representatives of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis from Canada. And so this is a very significant day, and we hope that it leads to further formal work, but also a further positive relationship between the king and representatives of Indigenous peoples in Canada.
Well, some of our CBC colleagues in St. John's sure do love Star Wars, and they're not alone. After all, this is Star Wars Day, May the 4th. More on that after the break. Well, it's a very special day for Star Wars and sci-fi fans. It's May the 4th, as in, may the 4th be with you? May the 4th? On-the-Go host Anthony Germain met an Uber fan last year who got creative over COVID, transforming his basement in Conception Bay South into the ultimate Star Wars lair. Here's a little reminder of what Kyle Reese cooked up.
The Soggy Mynock is where I spend my time these days. I called it the Soggy Mynock because everything in Star Wars is called, the Millennium Falcon, the Ebon Hawk, but I wanted something that was a little more pedestrian. This is a dingy basement, so it shouldn't have a lofty name. It should be called something a little gross. So in the Star Wars universe, Mynocks are almost like rats with wings. They're like pigeons that suck onto the side of a spaceship like a suckerfish. So I called this place the Soggy Mynock because I thought it conveyed that idea of it being kind of a dingy, rundown bar. I wanted it to be, as soon as you walk in the room, as soon as you walk through that sliding door, this should be like no other room you've been in your entire life. I want it to be the experience when you're in a lineup for a ride at Disney World, right? You're immersed in the world immediately. There were a couple of reasons why I decided to build this space this way. One was, I lost my office when we had our second kid. We needed to use a second bedroom, so I had an office. I didn't have an office anymore, so I needed an office. But when I realized I was going to put it down in the basement, and then all of a sudden the government of Newfoundland and Labrador came out with this home renovation bonus, and I realized, I could do this renovation job that I've been dreaming about for years. I could do it now, and I get the government to pay 10 grand. So that's exactly what I did. Star Wars is really gritty and organic and feels like a place that you could walk into off the street. In my view, it's a much more sort of human science fiction that capitalizes on the fact that, look, whether we're in a spaceship or whether we're in a dory, people customize their spaces and they live in their spaces, and you're not going to have gleaming consoles, you're going to have dusty computer banks. And that's sort of the philosophy behind living in Star Wars.
Well, and may the 4th be with you, Ashley. Our technical team here at CBCNL really gets into the Star Wars spirit, so this is what their part of the office looked like today.
And of course, the team just wouldn't be complete without Chewie.
And look who's here.
Look who's joining us.
Well, I guess with all the fog we've been having, the Millennium Falcon not upgraded with the latest ILS system, so he's not able to make it out, so no. He's joining us here today instead.
Stuck with us for the evening. Yeah, it's great. I love that.
Is there some hope in the long range that he's finally going to be able to, make it out here and join the rebellion?
Yeah, there's certainly a chance tomorrow. As we talked about, we'll see some relief from this fog. But as we head into Saturday, it may return a little bit. Yeah. Let's take a look at the long-range forecast. So we pretty much have that area of low pressure offshore there. Now, as we head through the afternoon hours on Saturday, mornings to start, but we could see some flurries with this. And then it's going to continue as we head into the afternoon and evening hours on Saturday, and change over to the chance of some showers, I should say. And this is when we could see some of that fog return. Now, I don't think it's going to be as dense as we've been seeing, and if we do see that, it'll be later on in the afternoon. Now, as far as Labrador is concerned, a bit more unsettled than it has been, especially for the last couple of days, because that ridge of high pressure has moved out for the most part. So you're going to see some showers certainly possible through the day. Your temperatures are still going to stay mild, hovering around 13 degrees, but that chance of showers certainly the story up across coastal areas of Labrador. Flurries more so the further south you get, and that's because your temperatures will be hovering around 2 degrees. And then for the island, temperatures cooler, so 3 to about 6 degrees for most of us, except the Avalon, hovering around the 2-degree mark for St. John's. Other than that, the best, at least sunshine anyway, will be again for the southwestern corner of the island. Now, as we head into the evening hours and then again on Sunday, it does look like there's a hint that we could see some clearing skies into the afternoon. So keep an eye on that one for the Avalon, it looks like at this point. But still going to see the chance of showers for the northern peninsula, west coast. Flurries the story up across Labrador as we see the wind shift more northerly and some cooler air moving in. So this is when we will see that drop in temperatures as the afternoon rolls through. So down to the single digits, still around where you should be sitting this time of year, 2 degrees towards the coast. And then for the island portion anyway, we're looking at temperatures between 10 to 12 degrees through central, and then hopefully about 8 degrees for St. John. So I am going to keep that sun icon in there. Hopefully that's what happens on Sunday. Now as we get into Monday and Tuesday, this is where we'll stay unsettled, but the hint is that after Tuesday, we actually should see some more significant sunshine and some warmer temperatures as well. Now for central Newfoundland, by Monday, you're looking at some flurries or showers. Tuesday should dry out. And then western Newfoundland, you're looking at those showers on Monday. Tuesday, sunshine and +6. Now for Labrador, that cooling trend will continue. So single digit highs right through Tuesday, maybe even a few flurries in the mix for those of you in eastern Labrador. And then between 4 and 6 degrees for western Labrador as well, but a bit more sunshine in your forecast. Now, this photograph, or this iceberg, I should say, has been photographed lots. This is the one in Fairyland. Vanessa shared her shot, which is another beauty. And if you have any that you would like to share with us, send them to Facebook, Twitter, or email them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Beautiful.
Front row seats.
Chewy has a little bit of a hoarse voice, which is why we can't hear him. He wanted to mention, though, that he's a little bit triggered when he saw that iceberg. Too many memories of the ice planet Hoth and a bad experience there with a Wookiee. So, yeah, he's probably not appreciating the ice nearly as much as the rest of us do.
That's a fair statement.
And that's it for us tonight. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Have a great evening.
Good night.